introduction here. What you'll find is that Brenda and I will be keeping our tabs on our tweet decks, because we'll be getting some tweets just to make sure people have the right connection information if they're not here. So bear with us as we get through some of these. All right, Louise or Syria, I'll turn the mic over to you, and would you like me to tell me if you want me to move to the next slide? Well, I will move to the next slide.
Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Syria Skirhan and I'm now the administrator for the OTF Professional Development Project. I would like to welcome everyone here tonight to our first of many OTF Connect sessions. I'm delighted at the number and variety of workshops that we'll be offering between now and the end of June. I want to take this opportunity, just in case there isn't time at the end, to thank Brenda Sheri and Peter Skillen for all their hard work in coordinating this project. And of course to Louise Murray-Long for all her great work that she does at everything she does for OTF, and especially in setting up the wonderful registration website. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass you on to Peter and Brenda so that they can get started. Thank you all.
Thank you, Syria. Welcome, everybody. I just wanted to suggest to you that we are going to be using the chat, the typing window, for quite a bit of this. So as Brenda mentioned earlier, and some of you may not have been here at that time, so I'll just bring it up again. What you can do, that chat window often defaults to a position over underneath the participants there, and that makes it very small when there's a lot of talk going on. So you can drag that window and undock it and take it somewhere else in your screen, or maybe over the right hand side, and just stretch it down so it's nice and long, because as people start typing, we're going to be asking you to look through what they're typing to get some information from them. And we're going to start that right now. So what we're going to do is ask you to just let us know who you are. So in that chat window, what I'd like you to do is type your name, your school, what part of the province you're in, maybe what you teach, and maybe why you're taking this, what your interest is in PBL. So we'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to type, and go for it. I'll look at all those little boxes lighting up in the participants window that show that you are typing. So that's awesome. So Alain Gauvin, you might want to run your audio wizard again. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Alain Gauvin, can you hear me? Just type yes if you can. Perfect. So what we've asked people to do is type their location, where they teach, what grade, why you like PBL, or why you want to learn about PBL. Look at all those awesome participants we have here this evening. And we know some of you folks. That's awesome. Lovely. Hello.
Hi, Peter. Hi, Brenda. So good to see you here.
So we've got folks from Toronto District, TC, DSB, Hastings, Prince Edward, in École Secondaire, Cochrane, Northern Ontario, Angie and Fergus, Tricia from Renfrew County, Student Success Teacher. Awesome. Keewatin, Tricia, District School up and driving. Lovely. Very cool. Aurelia, Special Ed Coach, Simcoe County. Natalie Mickey, indeed. How do I say your name? Is it Harkiran? Was I pretty close the first time, Harkiran? Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Angie here from my board, Upper Grand. That's great. And Leslie, Peter and I will be involved in the TLP a little bit this year, so it's great to meet you and a few others working on that. It's exciting.
Oh, good, because we didn't have enough work to do. Okay, that's great. We have a couple more coming in, but we'll move along here right now. I guess one of the things that we didn't do is quickly introduce ourselves. So my name is Peter Skillen. I had worked with North York School District and then Toronto School District. Started in 1970, working with grade 3-4, and then taught all elementary, and then worked as a computers and education consultant. Really focusing on the effective integration of technology. Started project-based learning and telecommunications-based learning back in the early 80s, so I've had a lot of fun with that. Then left the school district in 2000, retired actually, and helped start a school, the YMCA of Greater Toronto started a high school, so I did that for about 8 years, and now I'm still with the YMCA in a different capacity. So Brenda, maybe you want to take over, introduce yourself, and then carry on. Thanks. Welcome, everybody.
So my name is Brenda Sheri. I am an itinerant technology coach from Upper Grand District, so that's Guelph and Orangeville and Mount Forest and Aberfoyle, kind of a nice, great big board. Prior to this, I've been doing this for almost 5 years. Prior to that, I was 20 years in the classroom, teaching primary, junior, and special education, specifically LD students. So yes, I am old. I'm getting there. So it's great to have you here, and it's really neat to see that we are doing sessions on project-based learning, because I think when I started teaching, and I don't know, you could give me a little check mark here. I don't know that there would be that many check marks on the page, but I started teaching in 1987. Back in the day when we really had lots of integrated programs, and we had a lot more flexibility around curriculum, but so the project approach was something that a lot of us did. So I think that now we're lucky enough to have a better understanding of parts of project-based learning, but it's not necessarily a new thing. So that's really cool. The other thing is that there's no really right or wrong way to do it, so we're here to explore ideas today. We want it to be very conversational, and if you have questions, we'd like you to be able to ask those as we go along. If you're not sure how to ask questions, you can ask those kinds of things in the chat, and Louise will help with that as we get going. So the next thing we'd like you to do, you've introduced yourself, what we'd like you to do is to add in the chat, just type a few of your thoughts around PBL. What do you know now about project-based learning? Is it brand new to you? What kind of questions do you have? Why are you here? What would you hope to learn? We just sort of want to get an idea of what your understanding today, right now, of project-based learning is. So I'll be quiet now, and I'll let you guys chat. And if anybody would prefer to grab the mic to do that, they can talk instead. But I should see lots of chat bubbles starting as you type in the chat boxes. Now, Heather, to give people a chance to type, so if you're not hearing anything, don't worry. Okay, I'm just going to let people finish up what they were saying here, and then if you've already finished typing, what we'd like you to do is to look back on some of the other comments that you see, what other people have written, and let us know what strikes you as interesting. So we'd like to get some people to grab the mic and maybe mention something that someone else has shared that might be interesting, or a question that's come up based on what someone has said. I know Peter had one there, so I'm wondering if Kevin might grab the mic and explain what he means by a community-based project instead of project-based learning. How do you see those as different, Kevin?
Well, a community-based project, what I anticipate it to be is a need that the community that the local school community might need. For example, so my teacher was transportation technology. So for me, it would be getting the students involved within the community to either have a culminating activity per se.
Find that. So let's hold that in mind, and as we go through more of tonight's activities, I think you'll see whether that fits or not. It sounds like he's talking about an action project, something that, but that is sort of deeply embedded in community needs, not just in school needs. So it's sounding like it's maybe a very relevant kind of project to school community, Peter. What about somebody else? Could somebody else grab the mic and tell us a little bit about either what they think about PBL or what they've noticed here in a comment someone else has given us? Don't be shy. We love chatter in this classroom. Okay, I'm going to pick on Leslie. Leslie, what do you mean by passionate or their interests? What are you talking about there when you're mentioning authentic learning activities?
Well, for me, I just know I have a couple gifted students, and I know that we just in grade 6 finished some flight stuff, and then the one girl was really interested in, in jets, and then so it was still within the curriculum. However, she really focused in and did a whole project in depth about jets and how they were the way of the future and how to move people, and she was just passionate about it. So it was still meeting curriculum expectations, but pushing her in something she was really interested in.
Find that you go beyond curriculum expectations. Did you notice that happening at all?
Totally. So yeah, so definitely the curriculum expectations were met, but yeah, she went above and beyond completely. And it was just good learning for the other kids to see. So in that classroom, we're just really trying to start project-based learning. So, and I guess the whole thing of management is what I'd like to learn more about here again tonight.
Sounds good. Thank you for sharing. Angie, could you talk a little bit more about what you mean between the difference, what your question is around case-based learning?
I was just thinking about the difference between the kids getting a case study of a particular situation or problem, and if that is what project-based learning is as well, if that's just another name for it, sort of like the open-ended questions and applying research skills and inquiry to solving whatever that problem or case is.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll keep those thoughts in mind too. Harkaran, do you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts around project-based learning? What when you think of inquiry-based learning, do you see them as the same thing? I think we might not have a mic on the go there. Okay, so what we'll do is all these are great ideas, and I think if you feel that you have a lot of questions about PBL, join the club because you hear so many different kinds of terms related to inquiry these days. And some people believe that under the umbrella of inquiry-based learning, project-based learning is one of those things. So it might be problem-based learning. You hear about that one quite a bit. So we're going to take you through some activities now with Peter that maybe let us come to some understanding about what we think, common understandings about what project-based learning is, and then we're going to give you some examples to deconstruct actually. And then we do have also some of those management tips and good questions to ask yourself when you start this way. The other thing about it is, and I'm sure Peter will get into this a bit too, is that you know, you don't have to, you can start into project-based learning one step at a time kind of thing. You don't have to launch into all the facets of it. You can pick and choose. It really is nice for teacher learning because you can do what you're comfortable with. But I think you will love it if you do get a chance to try it. So, Peter, I'm going to turn it over to you for the next part. Go ahead.
Thank you. There's Harkaran's explanation, and just holding in abeyance what the opinion is there. So that's fine, and we'll get some clarification maybe later. So let me just move on here. Now here's our big challenge. Our big challenge is that we have a lot of definitions here with lots of text on the slides. Now, many of you know that it's a big no-no with PowerPoint. It's not the PowerPoint that'll kill you, it's the bullets, right? So that's a challenge. Here's my big challenge in my whole education career. I have a problem with models and categories of things. So when people, now PBL, project-based learning, has become the sort of in thing, even though, as Brenda said, it's been around for a long, long time. And so people now come up with these definitions for project-based learning. The fact is, it's a human-made construct. So it doesn't really exist. It did not come down from, somewhere else. It's something, the definitions are something that people have constructed. And so people with different ideas, in fact, do have different ways and beliefs and ways of approaching it. So you're going to construct your own sense of it. You're going to make your own sense of it, just as one does when one constructs knowledge. So this, you can see, is from the Buck Institute. And so there's one place that you really want to keep in mind. I know Louise is going to capture these URLs, these websites, and they are also on the resources page that we have for you on the wiki. Now Brenda's going to ask something here, so I'll turn the mic over to her for a second.
Only seeing the OTF Connect site screen. We're not seeing your slide.
Well, that sucks, doesn't it? So let me just, I don't know why that would be. Let me try this. Are you seeing it now?
We are perfect now. Thank you, Peter.
Well, I just learned something tonight, so that's a good thing. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more. So there you go. That's the Buck Institute. Very well known in this industry of project-based learning. So just have a look at that for a second. And then I'll move on to the next one, which is from the George Lucas Educational Foundation. Somebody's supposed to be setting a timer for me here, but I think it's not necessary. There's George Lucas. Yeah, the George Lucas. He has something that he started out, called it GLEF, George Lucas Educational Foundation. It's now known as Edutopia. So I'll let you read that for a second. Now we'll move on to Linda Darling-Hammond, a very awesome educator that you might want to follow up on. So just Google her and you'll find all sorts of fascinating information on her part. So what we'd like you to do is just start in the chat, just start jotting down the key words or key concepts that you've been noticing through these slides. And we'll just see what evolves here. And now we'll move to the last one, which has got the 4. There are lots more out there in the world, so you can find those. This is one that Brenda found that she really likes from an organization called ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education. It's a great great organization that I would recommend any of you who are interested in project-based learning or in technology and education. Find out about it or give me a shout. I know quite a bit about it, so check that out.
Actually named in our resources, and we'll remind you of where all our resources are. Actually, if you miss anything tonight, it's going to be on a wiki for you to take. But this is called Project-Based Learning in the Digital Age, and I loved it because it really does work in the technology. Because back in the day, when I was doing project-based learning in '87, it was like, you know, you could do a diorama or a poster, and those were sort of your choices when you were doing projects, or write it up. But now we have just a million kinds of choices for kids to demonstrate their learning. It's really an exciting time to be doing this kind of work.
Did you say back in the day?
I did. I'm starting to sound like you now, Peter. I've been around the block a few times.
She swears she's going to make a hat for me. Because when I say, well, you know, we did that back in the day. What's new? And we need to do this. She teases me. Anyway, okay, so what we'd like you to do now is just to look back in the chat, and maybe I would love for somebody just to grab the mic and tell us what really resonates with you, what you see as something that's, you know, perhaps the most important thing, or something new that you've learned, or a new thought, or you know, just tell us same old, let's go on.
I'm another one of these back in the day types. Makes me laugh when Brenda and Peter use that expression. I really like this concept of being able to roll technology into this, because Brenda, I'm the same way. I remember when, you know, big Bristol board, that was the big excitement, and I love the fact that we can let kids roll technology in now.
That's really kicked it up a notch too, I thought.
One of the things that's kicked it up a notch is the how ubiquitous the access is, and how the much more control has shifted to the hands of the learners as a result of the technologies, with the guidance of great coaches as educators. Anything else that folks would like to say, or are we just happy looking at things for now? Because we certainly don't want to force folks to talk, and you are typing, contributing, and learning with the chat stuff that's there. So that's good. We'll give you another second if anybody would like to, or if you just want to interrupt anytime, just raise your hand. Just click that little hand button, and you'll get a chance to do that. So what we're going to do now is just, Brenda.
I thought we were going to look at the key points, right? The key themes. So I think everybody kind of nailed it in terms of being authentic, student-driven. That was said a couple of times. Choices. I love seeing that word. Authentic. Constructive investigation. Ooh, that's a good one. That can mean a lot of different things as you unpack that. So I think we're ready to move on, Peter. And I'm just reading Justine's. Good. So yeah, good. All right. You maybe have been practicing PBL without even knowing it. Yes, that's possible. That would be awesome. I wonder if I should move on to sharing some docs with folks, Peter.
Yeah, I think you should. I just want to do a little bit of a meta piece on this, if I may. And it's just in our two different styles there. So Brenda really felt the need to do a little bit of a summary, and I made an assumption. I made an assumption that the summary was done by yourselves, and so I just want you all to keep that in mind. So that's the two different styles. Sometimes it's a real weakness of mine that I make assumptions and don't summarize well. So, and sometimes it's a good thing. So that's just a meta piece for us all. So Brenda, go ahead now with the documents if you don't mind.
We thought that because it's really hard to sometimes lead people through projects step by step, because everybody's working with different kids, different grade levels, different subject areas and domains, it's a little challenging in that way. So we created 2 documents for you that we think will help your understanding when you get planning projects for yourself. And we're going to actually ask you to use these to do an activity in a few minutes. So this part is where I'm going to share the documents with you, and then I'm going to actually screen share them as well. So it gets a little messy at times, but I'm going to walk you through this. So what I'm going to do is, in a minute, I'm going to try and open a file for transfer. So what will happen is up will pop a box in the middle of your screen, and it'll ask you if you want to save the file. And I believe it's going to be just a yes or a no. And you're going to click yes, and then it's going to put the file somewhere on your computer where your documents are usually kept. And you may actually have to move your Blackboard Collaborate window around to get at that file. Just don't close it out or we'll lose you for a second. If we do lose you, no problem, just come back in with the same link. So here we go. I'm going to start with the first one. And it takes me a minute to find it, because that's just the way you have to do it with this. So you have to give me 2 seconds. So the first one is actually going to be called PBL Project Planning Questions. Okay, so that should be, you should see now, do you wish to save it? You're going to click yes, and it's going to let you save to your desktop. Okay. Mine's going in a temp file on my test one. Wherever you want to put it is where you can put it. So I'll give you a second to do that one. Maybe you can smile at me or give me a green check mark if you get that going and you've got it saved. And now I'm going to send you the other one. Okay, Louise. Okay, because there's a bit of a delay, so I might wait a second or 2. Great, Justine's got it. Okay, so here comes the second one. And this one's called Project Design. Same box pops up. You want to click yes and then download that file. Okay, so I'm seeing that 3 people are getting it. Does that mean that a lot of people are not getting it? Any red check marks would help me know about that. Peter, go ahead.
I think one of the things that we really neglected to do, speaking of making assumptions, is that we didn't really give people a good indication of how to put a check mark on that screen at the beginning of the session. Not that I recall anyway, maybe I was distracted. And maybe we just need to think about doing that each time. So you'll see under your name, on the top of the participants list, there is a little check mark box. There's 4 little boxes, and then the word main room, and you just drop that little check mark box and choose yes, and it'll put a check mark on your screen. And that's the way that works. And the check mark stays there until we clear it, so that's nice, whereas a happy face or any of the other emoticons disappear after a second, so it's hard to keep a running list when things are taking a little bit of time. Thanks, Brenda.
Just asked whether you need them right now. You don't actually need them now. You'll need them a little bit later, because I'm going to just, in case people didn't get them right now, they can get them later. But I'm going to take you on a little sharing here. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you the first one. I'm going to look at the one called, yikes, I think it's called Questions. So let me switch to that one. There we go, Planning Questions. So it takes a minute. Should look a little bit strange on your screen. All right, so what you should be seeing is sort of a where do we start with PBL. And I'll let you have a look at those. But a couple of questions that we would like to bring your attention to that really help you decide what makes the difference between what makes a more important project is number 3. I really love this phrasing of this question. I think this really helps me plan. So outside of school, who cares about these topics? What is their relevance in different people's lives and in different parts of the world? So when I heard mention, and I think it might have been Kevin, I'm not sure, who mentioned the community-based project, I think that kind of a project that he mentioned really relates neatly to that, because you may have big issues in your school, things that your kids can solve, and wouldn't that be really exciting if there's other people caring about kids doing that work? Then there's the other things that you guys mentioned, the real life context, interdisciplinary, what other subjects might you add in? So these are just some nice things for you to keep on hand to be asking yourself as you're getting planning. Okay, so that's that one. Now I'm going to bring up the other one. Okay, application sharing. Oh. And this is another one that we use just so that you're always kind of thinking whether you're meeting the criteria for projects or not. So again, I'm not feeling that we need to read to you everything, but I think these would be helpful as you get going, and there's a couple of links along the bottom. And what we'd like you to do when you get to deconstructing some projects here tonight is maybe keep these in mind, pull them up on your computer, and have a look at them as samples. Do you have any questions about either of those 2 pages? Anything that stood out for you or anything that's confusing? Okay, I'm going to take that to mean we can move on. Peter, shall we?
Okay, here comes a bit of a tough part for us all in a couple of minutes here. What we're going to do is Brenda and I are going to, we have 4 projects we're going to share with you. We're going to give an overview of them, and then we're going to put you in a little while into breakout rooms to discuss them. And we have these prompts in the breakout rooms as well, so you don't have to worry about writing them down. They are in the rooms. But the questions that we would like you to ask of yourselves and discuss within your group about the unit that we provide with you is it an example of PBL or is it not, in your opinion? And how could you make it a deeper, richer, more robust PBL project? And then finally, how else could you leverage technology, considering the area that we're in, either technology, well, any kind of technology that exists, information communications technologies, mobile technologies, or any other technologies for that matter, so it doesn't really matter. So those are the questions that we would like you to focus on. What we're going to do now is take turns talking about these projects. And so I'm going to turn it back to Brenda to talk to you about the teddy bear project.
This one is the teddy bear project, yes, and I'm going to throw a link in the chat, and I will also have a link, there's a link in your room for this one if you choose to go in and talk about this one. With the teddy bear project, what happens is an organization called IRON International, which matches up teachers around the world. You join that organization and you get matched up with a classroom from another part of the world. You send a teddy bear to that class and they send one to you. And you know, when I've done it, we've put lots of sort of memorabilia from our area, like Robert Munch books for us and maple syrup and that kind of thing. And you send it off to the other country. And then you spend the year with the bear till about June. And the idea is the bear is there to learn about your culture. So the bear goes home on sleepovers and it goes to assemblies and field trips and it plays with the kids and learns with them in their day-to-day life. And then students communicate with each other by writing. And I've done it with email, but definitely it's way more exciting when you do it in a blog. So that's that project, very open-ended.
I'm going to talk to you about the Body Book Project, which is a secondary science initiative, and I'm just going to screen share for you here and give you an overview of this. And again, this document we will upload to you, to those of you who wish to discuss it when you move to the breakout room. So the final project is to create a children's book on one system of the human body. And so the instructions are laid out pretty explicitly here, and describe, suggesting the format, the content that is needed to be in there. So for example, at the bottom you can see you need to consider the following questions in your research. Major functions of the system, what are the structures in the system that you're researching, what does each structure contribute to the functioning, so on and so forth. So this is a typical secondary school science project of this styling. So we'll provide that for you to discuss. And now I'll turn it back to Brenda for the First Nations Research Project description.
Unpacks windows there. Okay, in the First Nations Research Project, this class of grade 5/6s, I believe, or grade 6s, we're looking into choosing one tribe or clan, and then they had a responsibility for certain areas of research, such as transportation, dwellings, food, clothing, spiritual beliefs and ceremonies, a list of 10 of those things, which they had to incorporate into their research, and then they had a choice in how they demonstrated their learning. So the teacher did some old school type, I shouldn't say back in the day, some analog type projects, Bristol board, speeches, scrapbooks, dioramas, that kind of thing, and then added in some other new tools like Prezi, VoiceThread, and Glogster. And students could choose the kind of tool that they would use to demonstrate their thinking. They created a success criteria together, and then that's what they used for their project. I'll have a 2-pager that you can download if you choose to go in and talk about that one, so you can look at it more clearly.
And the last one is a project that is started by the company Adobe, and it's the Adobe Youth Voices project. It's also it comes under the umbrella also of the iEarn initiative, much like the Teddy Bear project does as well. This one's a little hard to describe. I'm going to take a minute to show a few things because the project was so open, and a project plan or a unit plan was never really written up in the same sense as others. So in this initiative, the main mission of the Adobe Youth Voices is to have kids create with purpose. And so the idea, about 40 educators from around the world took a course online with Adobe and iEarn to learn how to help kids make media in a project-based manner, and everything from planning to audience to like all aspects of it. And then everybody went off and did their stuff, and then sort of uploaded their projects at the end to the iEarn project, their media projects to the iEarn site. So I'm going to show you a video here. I'll do a web tour. The video should auto-start when I go to do a web tour. If it doesn't auto-start and you see it, just click the play button. And if it doesn't even show up, you can use the link that I'm going to paste into the chat room to go to your browser, and it'll take you to YouTube and you can watch it. The video is about a 1-minute long video. This young man who produced it believed very strongly that art should not be hidden in an art gallery where only the rich can see it. And he took some photographs. He used Photoshop to Hockneyize the photographs, wrote a rap, wrote the music, performed the rap, and put it together in a video. So I'll paste the video link in the chat room. You won't need to use it unless the web tour does not work. So I'm going to web tour here. I had my mic on that. I had my mic on that whole time. I hope you didn't hear me crying. Anyway, so the other part of this project that evolved was that when we posted it on the iEarn site, another teacher in Slovenia saw it and said, "Hey, I'm doing a project called Listen to the Walls Talking. It's a graffiti project. Would your kid, that's a great video. Would that kid be interested in doing something with that? Maybe making some other videos?" And we had a multi-age class environment. So then this little, for the lack of a better word, nerdy young kid who would never connect with this kid who created the hidden thing said, "You know what? We could do a Google Earth multimedia project." So the kids ended up Skyping with Sasha in Slovenia, and created a Google Earth project. So they created place marks on Google Earth and put various products like this in different spots around the world. I'm going to screen share this. It won't work that well, but you'll get the gist of it, and I'll talk through it if I may. So let me just see if I can. So it's going to like scroll in really slowly and look really crappy, but I want you to get the idea about it here. So there's Google Earth, and in fact, so they had different places, and one of them was McDougall. So it just scrolls in. What's happening now, in case you can't see it, is it's zooming in from space into Toronto, and it would go off to Zagreb and Mexico and other parts of the world where the kids had done these place marks. So now I can see the place mark here, and if I click on it, it shows up the place mark, and then shows the text that Robin and the other young man put in there, and you should be seeing like the video. It'll play in situ, right, in the place, and then street view at the bottom where these pictures were actually taken. And so this was a project that evolved. We didn't really design it at the beginning. So I hope that gives you a good flavor of what it's about. And we'll upload, well, we have a couple of links in the breakout room should you wish to pursue that. And I do believe, I'm turning it back to Brenda to now break you off into rooms, I think.
This is the part where you guys are going to have a chance to talk together and use those two project pages we gave you earlier, the design one and the questions, if you want to refer to those. If you don't, I know you've got a good handle on what are the key features of projects, so you'll be able to discuss without them anyway. So there's two things that we have to do here. First thing we have to do is ask for each project who would like to work on that, and if yes, we're going to send you a file if you need it. If not, we're going to, and then we're going to kind of go, when we say go, we're going to go into the breakout rooms. The way that you do go into a breakout room here in Collaborate is if you scroll down in your participants window, the last name on our list is Valerie, and under Valerie's name, don't put yourself in there now, But there are 4 rooms: Adobe Youth Voices, Body Book Project, First Nations, and Teddy Bear Project. When you click on one of the arrows beside the room, there's a drop down to the right of the, not the arrow to the left of the title of the room, but to the right. And that will let you enter the breakout room. You'll click that and then you'll click enter breakout room. That'll put you in there when we say go. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to take Elaine. Okay, Elaine Govan, I'm going to take you, I put you back in the main room just until we get our things handed out. Oh, it's going to be a nightmare. Okay, just like in the classroom. Okay, so wait till I say go. Who would like to, would you please give us a green check mark if you would like to go and talk about the Teddy Bear Project? Any takers for the Teddy Bear Project? Okay. So what I'm going to do is send you guys right now the file you need. So here it comes. Go back. Actually, oh, maybe you have it. Peter, do you have it? I don't have it.
I probably have it, so let me just get that.
Let's try the next one. Is anybody talking about the First Nations Research Project for Junior? Anybody going to go into groups for that one? Christina? All right, we've got, okay, I can send you that one, guys. So here comes the First Nations Project. So just those folks can choose that one. And got it, hopefully. You should be able to click yes and get the file. Yes, the body book is secondary science. Okay, Peter, why don't you do body book, and I will find the other one.
Okay, did it make itself available? I don't see anything on my screen.